What's up, my know-it-alls? Well, guess what? It is that time again. It's time for Andor. That's right, the new Star Wars series on Disney+. We're watching Episode 4, Aldhani. All right, so let's go ahead and dive right into it. First off, Mrs. Know-It-All was not able to be here today. She's really sorry about that, but she can't wait to see you guys and talk more about the episodes next week. So let's get into it a little bit. One of the things that I've really found interesting about this episode is that you can definitely tell the series has been written in a set of very specific sort of episodic pieces. Now, I don't mean each individual episode. What I mean is the first 3 episodes belonged together. That was Andor, the movie, the origin story, part 1. It literally felt like it belongs in the same universe as Rogue One. Now, this episode, I'm not gonna, not my favorite, but that's okay. Okay, so the episode starts with pretty much right where we left off. Right after the recap, you jump right back, and we're still on the ship with Luthen and specifically Cassian, and they're talking, and he's basically trying to explain to him what the deal is, and he can really make a difference, and if you really want to poke him in the eye, and he essentially susses him out, kind of mentally playing with him a little bit. And what ends up happening is that Cassian says to him, he's like, so what is this? What am I doing? What do you want me for? And in essence, Luthen is using him as a mercenary. Now, I believe this is more of a test tryout. I don't think necessarily Luthen is 100% recruiting him yet. I think he wants to see how he's going to do on a very serious mission. So essentially, it's a literal case of out of the frying pan and into the fire. And so and we get a brief interlude with Mon Mothma, and you get to see her and her husband. She actually is meeting she's meeting Luthen, though at this point Luthen has changed his look a little bit. Now, let me digress. Let me go back a little bit. Luthen drops off Cassian on the planet Aldhani. On the planet Aldhani, we meet several people. Now, one of my favorite things about this episode is you get to see an actress named Faye Marsay. Faye Marsay plays a character named Vel Sartha. Vel Sartha is clearly the leader of this cell. It's funny, there's a really great part where on the way to Aldhani, Cassian says to him, he's like, oh really, who are you supposed to be with? Are you with this group, this other group, the other group? These are all rebellion factions. They're cells, they're groups. They're groups who are all trying to do the same thing, but are not currently organized under one banner. Now, a lot of this is going to make sense to those of you who've been watching Clone Wars or Rebels or any of those shows, in that in Rebels, if you remember, I'm talking the very beginning, not the awesome show that it became, but in the very beginning, not that it wasn't an awesome show, but in the very beginning, you found out that though that group you were watching, they were a cell unto themselves. They were their own little thing, and they thought they were the only ones. At this point in time, at this point in history, remember, in the Star Wars mythos, every one of these groups is fighting, rebelling, if you will. However, they're not organized yet. So I feel like we're going to see that organization start to come together. Specifically, we're introduced to some high security people who are with Imperial Security. Imperial Security essentially analyzes all of these in different various points of intelligence. Each of them secures a sector or several sectors, and at the end of the day, based on the information that they're getting, they're able to better give information forward into the field and get people moving forward. Okay? All right. Good. Stay with me. One of those officers is a very interesting character who I don't see her. I don't see her in the cast list yet. See, that's the bad part about IMDb when you're doing this at 3 in the morning, right when the show drops, is that they haven't updated all the actors yet, because a lot of the stuff needs to be a surprise. Anyway, so the security officer is a relatively brand new one to this area, which is security. However, she comes from enforcement, you find out. So she's hot to find. She finds out about the Star Path device, the units, that box that Cassian was trying to sell to Luthen in the beginning. And it's her mind that this puts it under her jurisdiction. Now, why? When she's confronted, because there's a lieutenant who controls that particular sector where all that went down, and he don't want to give her nothing. So you're starting to see the beginnings of what becomes later that Imperial backbiting, that like I have to jockey for position that we later see when they're in darker gray uniforms in the future. We see that. Now, obviously, the white uniforms are all part of, I think they're part of R&D, security, and several other different divisions. Anyway, so in specific, she has 3 case files on her desk. She's the person who's shouting, there's an organized rebellion coming, and nobody's listening. Like, nobody. She's the one who later on is going to be like, oh yeah? And here's the rebellion I told you about. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. She clearly has motivations to sort of, improve her position and her station and whatnot. It's really interesting because Luthen delivers Cassian to Aldhani. He meets with Velsartha, and Velsartha is clearly, so there's a lot of players doing a lot of things, and I'm seeing the chess pieces coming together. At the end of the day, the mission that these guys are going on for the rebellion is there is a garrison, a pretty big garrison. It's funny, according to Vel's character, Aldhani is not, it's not close to anything, but it's not far from everywhere. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. So the entire place looks almost like the Scottish, there's highlands, there's lowlands, a lot of rolling green hills, very lush type area. And essentially they have cleared out a group. There was a river that ran through most of the area. It's why the area was so verdant, and the Imperials sort of cut it off. They cut off that river, built their power base right there at the end, probably running some sort of hydroelectric power and whatnot. Anyway, what happened is they're going to use, there's a festival that happens, and upon each time this festival happens, the sky lights up. One of the characters calls it meteors. Another guy corrects him and says, actually, it's this sort of crystal gas pieces and debris in the atmosphere. It ignites. It creates a beautiful thing, but also he said, it's gorgeous to see from the ground, but it creates chaos in the sky. Exactly the kind of thing you need if you're going to pull off a heist. So this is very much shifted into being sort of our version of a Star Wars heist film. There you go. Now you know. And if knowing is half the battle, you're halfway to being a know-it-all yourself. But Mr. Know-it-all, why so abrupt? That's kind of how the episode ends, bro. I don't know. Sorry. Yeah, so literally that's how the episode ends. It's sort of like, we're going to do a thing, blah, 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 this is happening. Mon Mothma has an engagement with her husband. She meets Luthen, and she's under the pretense, and you find out she's being surrounded by people and whatnot. But at the end of the day, there's really not, when you get past a lot of this stuff, we're getting a lot of her backstory, and that should be more interesting. But I feel like we're in a movie, and then a second movie has just started. Now, some people would call it the B plot. My problem is it is so diametrically separate, and there is very little connective tissue other than Luthen. Because when Luthen arrives back on Coruscant, which I know, literally I know last episode, or when the last video for Andor, I was telling you guys, when are we going to get Coruscant? Always these deserted planets. Here we are on Coruscant. And I'm actually really happy about that. And so apparently Mon Mothma is being surrounded more and more and more by people she doesn't know. And this is that time period when the Empire is really, really securing its position, and like firmly. It obviously did that in the initial rollout after the Clone Wars, but now it's like really starting to grip and get its firm hands around the people of the former Republic, now Empire. And it's growing very quickly into what we eventually will know. Jackbooted thugs and the whole bit. So yeah, but the episode ends pretty startlingly. It ends abruptly with very little satisfaction. There is very little, and that hit me hard. So hard that it's going to affect my score. So that's why I jump right to the end. So what is the know-it-all index for this week on Andor, episode 4, Aldhani? Know-it-all index for me is going to be a 6. This ending hurt. You had some interesting points, some confusing parts, but at the end of the day, there's this whole subplot where I say subplot is part of the bigger overall Cassian plot, but where apparently nobody knew he was coming. So she has instructions from Luthen, she cannot tell her people, we're talking about Vel, about him. So Luthen is not, as far as everyone's concerned, she's the one who connected Cassian, who's going by the name Clem, to them and this mission. It's 3 days before their mission, so he's really having to. I believe Luthen purposely put him in this very compromising position in order to see what he's really made of. Because remember, this guy will eventually be the guy who's leading 45 or some odd people to come join up with what's her face in Rogue One. And so he's going to have to build that team and that group, and eventually you're going to get this organized empire. Organized rebellion. Anyway, all right. So comment below. Let me know what you thought, man. If this felt unsatisfactory or unsatisfying, yeah, that's how the episode felt. So I'm a little bitter about that because when we get up at 3 a.m, you better give me something interesting. Hopefully next episode. See, if this is all going to be a series of, well, every 3 episodes Matt makes a movie. This series has 24 episodes coming. That's right, 24. So you're getting a long series. This is like old school series television, and that I'm okay. Let's do it. So yeah. Comment below. Let me know what you thought. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the entire episode. And share the episode. If you please like the video, it really does help in the algorithms. Let me know what you thought. Again, let's engage. I would love to talk more about this. So I know that Mrs. Know-It-All would. I'm sure she'd love to get some questions and some stuff that we can discuss with you guys next week. Again, we're putting some effort into trying to get a live stream going soon. So hopefully I'll be able to talk a little bit more about that, and we'll talk to you guys really soon. Never forget, everyone loves a know-it-all.